Don't like stairs much in my lair. They're always making me grasp for air. My filthy bed gives me a rash. I never wash. I save cash. My belly's big. It's really neat. It's been years since I've seen my feet. I've learned this spell. It's really neat. I'll keep it later for your treat.
Ooh. That was very spooky, very good.
Oh my, I saw the fear in your eyes. Nisha was like watching The Grudge again. Do you know what I mean? He's like,
oh, don't bring that back. Don't bring it back, man. Oh, how are you, Keith? How are you feeling about Banjo-Kazooie, the rare, glorious game that it is?
Banjo motherfucking Kazooie, baby. Kazoo! It is like, oh my god. You know the way they all speak of
Yeah, I really like that, yeah.
Oh man,
really
that turns
like
me on. That's full erection selection for me. Like if someone just mumbles that in my ear, I'm like, what the fuck?
Who's your favourite character in Banjo-Kazooie?
Okay, first of all, I need to just get this out of the way. It's a question I have for you, and it's related to a character. Are Jinjos, right? I had a fight with this about Mary when I was playing Banjo-Kazooie. Jinjos are those little guys that goes, Jinjos! Yeah. They're one of the collectibles. They're all different colours, you know? Vision them, listeners at home. Are Jinjos cute little babies or disgruntled old angry alien men?
Okay. Are they cute little animals, like cute little baby animals, or are they angry old men, aliens that have just been fucked around the level and are like, will you come on, I can't get out of
Have you ever seen a Jinjo's fist?
I haven't, but what I'm going to tell you what I think they are, and then you can tell me. So I think they are happy-go-lucky.
Shut! You know what? Like that. Betrayal. You know what? I knew this podcast was a waste of my time. I'm going to leave it, alright? It's fine.
Bye.
Hopefully Mary doesn't listen to this.
They're like cute little Care Bear style. They're so happy the way they say Jinjo.
Listeners, will you do me a favour? You're probably listening on your phone. You're probably, on a laptop, whatever you're doing. Just open up a separate tab. Google Jinjo. Okay, Nisha's going to do it along with you. Just zoom into their fists. Okay, then look at their vacant eyes. They look like they're in their mid-30s. They've already been divorced twice. It looks like they're coming home to, again, a microwave meal for the 1,000 times. They're going to smoke a cigarette and they're going to literally... It's not going to be pleasant anyway. I'm just going to put it that way.
They really look like they would knock the bollocks
right? Out. They're angry, disgruntled old men.
And their eyes... Oh
yes, right. Okay, you see when you zoom in...
Their eyes are looking right to my very soul.
And they truly are.
Oh, that is very good.
Anyway, my favourite character, probably Jinjo, or Mungo Jerry, as I like to call. What's the name of the guy who turns you into all the different stuff? Mumbo Jumbo. He's got the
Jerry.
Eco Bookum type vibe that I enjoy. What about you? What is? Just to start us off, what is your favourite Banjo-Kazooie character?
I really like how kind of sassy and cheeky Kazooie is.
Nisha.
I love... Yeah?
We're such idiots.
Go on.
It is very clearly the sexiest character in all video game history who has to be our favourite character. Sexy Gruntilda.
Man, I have it on the list to bring it up because it's something that you can't talk about Banjo-Kazooie. I don't think. Well, me and you couldn't talk about Banjo-Kazooie without talking about sexy Gruntilda and how she steals. Is it Tootie's beauty?
I do a Tootie on fucking Gruntilda.
Smoking hot, tall. The little black dress, the green skin, skin, man.
I can only go for so many wanks in a day. Do you know what I mean? Jesus
the
Christ.
Like alien vibe she has, like in Guardians of the Galaxy. It's like
oh my god,
it's like the unknown
Gamora sex. Everyone who's green is just extra hot. I don't know what it is about it. You take a good sniff, you're like smells like home, you know what I mean? Oh fuck.
Well, Ireland, the colour of Ireland is green, isn't it?
That's true. It makes perfect sense.
National colour. But so I was playing Banjo-Kazooie last night to prepare for the episode, and I've played Banjo-Kazooie a lot throughout the years. I remember the first time playing it, I was actually still in primary school, and it holds such a magic nostalgia because it was around the time when there was so much mystery still about video games and so much like secrets and retro rumors. There was rumors about things, and you know, friends in the schoolyard would be telling these stories, and I have so many memories of playing the games and then going into school and talking about which jiggies we found, how many notes we found, what secrets we found, what cool moves you could get, what monsters you could, or what animals you could transform into, and just the whole mystery of how big the game was, the cool hub world that transfers you around, that or you travel around, and just how different each level was. And it was just, this game was magical to me. Is the best way to describe it. When I was a kid, it was totally magical, because I have so many fond memories. And even playing it last night, I found myself, what I used to do was I used to go into first person mode all the time. So you know, you can zoom in on your camera and you can go into first person and you can look around, and I used to do that all the time just to look around for the music, or not for the music notes, for just to see if there was anything different, something out of the ordinary. Maybe I can get up to that like pipe that's sticking out the wall there, or that little ledge that's sticking out there, and what's up there, and there has to be something. And I can remember finding a few things, and I wonder, I'm curious to know if you ever thought like this when you're, especially when you're a kid, you might think along these lines, but I definitely did. And it was when if I found a secret in a game, I remember thinking, am I the first person to ever discover this? Like,
sure,
have I just discovered something brand new that nobody else has found? And you know, you might say to friends in school and they're like, no way, I didn't realise that. And I can remember a lot of times being like, kind of like almost panicking, going, have I found something that was like,
sure,
did people who made this game even realise this?
Yeah, totally.
Like,
I mean, and someone brain is always the first someone to find something. Like, do you know, true, there is that mystery and there is that magic about like discovering either maybe something you're not supposed to. I mean, it goes back to like Easter eggs, right? You know what I mean? Have we done an Easter egg episode? We haven't, have we?
Not yet.
That's interesting. That's interesting. But like, there's classics like, you know, in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas, you go to the top of one of the bridges and it says you're not supposed to be up here, you know. So I find it very interesting when you find a secret for the first time. There's a magic and you share it, and it's like the great thing about like video games, and but also from a retro sense, when you're looking back to being a kid, there's this communal sharing experience that you only know a few people have this game. You know, you don't have the internet to check something when you want, where there's like you are in a village. You're not in the world. We're connected to the world now, but back then you're a village and there's nothing outside that village. So you know, when you get to share those pieces of information, it's very magical because there's nothing else to corroborate it with, you know?
Yeah,
and
true.
Sometimes they're glitches, sometimes they're intentional, or sometimes it's a glitch that leads to an Easter egg anyway, which is super magical, you know? And it has that vibe of it. I think the interesting thing for me is like Banjo-Kazooie, for me, I actually only discovered as an adult. So like the very first time I played it was on stream a couple of years ago, because it was Mary's favourite game, who guested on the podcast before. And it was like, it just, you know what I would say straight off the bat, number one, the collectathon genre has been dead for so long, and playing this for the first time, like Nisha, we've talked before about what we love about retro video games is not just revisiting stuff that we've played before, but discovering something for the first time, right? So I'm playing this like late 90s classic for the very first time in 2020, and it has an unmistakable charm that only Rare has in making its characters, in writing its characters, within its design work, and it's very funny. It's actually a game that's legitimately funny. Like Gruntilda's character, the jokes they have with the bottles, who's trying to teach you all your moves and he's blind and he's walking around the place. The idea of just sexy Gruntilda in the first place, like the things that stick out to me when you say Banjo-Kazooie is the incredible game over animation of becoming sexy Gruntilda.
It's so good.
Is the secrets, is the fact that there's actually a cheat book and spells you find within the game and you use them. It's 100%ing the game. It's spoiler warning, but I'm guessing if you're listening to a retrospect on Banjo-Kazooie, you might, you know, be on in there. But towards the end of the game, without giving too much away just in case, but maybe skip the next 10 seconds, there is a whole quiz section that quizzes you on the entire game that you've just played, and it's unique to your playthrough unique to your playthrough, which is just so ahead of its time. So like the charm, the collectathon, the magic as well of like, I contacted my inner child playing this game. Do you know what I mean? I was like,
brilliant,
going through the levels, going through the jungle, going through the snow areas, like absolutely gorgeous, and experiencing it with others for the first time in the unique format of streaming. So what it is like, there's a very interesting thing when you're streaming retro games, because you're bringing the new and the old together. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
everyone's experiencing the old through a new medium where we all get to watch it for the first time and talk about it. So Banjo for me had like a very special place, and it's still nostalgic playing it as an adult. Do you know?
Yeah. I think that speaks to the game itself, that it's still nostalgic to you, even though you played it for the first time. Like I get the warm fuzzies, I get the nice feeling because I have the childhood memories. But it's such a special game, and even I'd say, like you said, even like it's the classic Rare design, the classic, the levels, the characters, the funny, hilarious dialogue, the fantastic music, like everything about this definitely has that 90s retro vibe, that early N64 kind of
the
feel
90s retro Rare vibe. Like the Rare part is so important for that, because you just got to think of Conker's Bad Fur Day as well. Do you know what I mean? And Banjo-Kazooie, the sequel, and you think of GoldenEye, and you think of Perfect Dark, and you think of is it
Diddy Kong Racing?
Diddy Kong Racing. Is it Jet Force Gemini as well as another one they had?
Yeah, such like what an incredible company, and man, they've been making games since the Nintendo NES. But I feel like they really hit their stride on the N64 with all of the biggest games on the N64. A lot of them are Rare games. They're the Rare limited Rare games, video games.
And this led to their disappointment in a way, because they did such fantastic, incredible work for Nintendo that they were convinced that when the GameCube was coming along, right? The big problem with going to the Nintendo 64 to the GameCube is you went from teams of 5 to 10 people making Banjo-Kazooie to needing a far more experienced and a far bigger team to make GameCube games. So they didn't naturally actually have the financial resources to really make that jump. So they were like, someone has to buy us. And they're like, obviously, Nintendo's going to buy us. Why wouldn't they? Yeah. And they didn't. They wouldn't buy them. So Microsoft bought them. So at the time they were...
That's how it happened.
They were looking at, say for instance, they were looking at making Banjo 3, but they were making Grab by the Ghoulies at the time. And so... And now, look, obviously there's a lot of talk about like, did Xbox stop their creativeness or whatever? I don't think they did, in fairness. I think they just kind of went the way they went. But like they were hoping they would be bought. So Microsoft ended up having to buy them. And then obviously they got all their IPs. And then of course we had Banjo Nuts and Bolts, which in of its own is a fine game. It's just not a game anyone wanted as a Banjo-Kazooie game, right? It was like it's fine if it was a spin-off and we knew there was a third game coming, no one would have a problem with it. But for it to be the death of the franchise, I think is a bit of a sore point. But yeah, so the IPs live now with Xbox. That's why we have Conker Live and Reloaded on the original Xbox, which is a fantastic which is a fantastic remake of the game. They wanted to remake Banjo-Kazooie on the Xbox and they started it. And there's images of a complete amazing upgraded graphic Banjo-Kazooie.
Is there,
yeah, they did Mumbo Jumbo. They designed him. They designed the enemies. They got a lot of Mumbo's Mountain done as a complete remake of the game. Phenomenal, gorgeous looking. I've seen the clips of it.
Yeah.
And then they were like, I don't think we're going to do this. And then they kind of pivoted away. So
what a shame. What a shame. What could have been? Like, what a fantastic game. I think it's great though how it blows my mind how after such a run on the Nintendo 64, then going into the GameCube, that Nintendo didn't say, okay, we're going to take us on. Like I cannot understand that decision at all.
That like their biggest, like they should have become first party, right? Like they were sold the biggest and best games on their system.
100%, yeah. And even today, like on the console itself, Banjo-Kazooie, Diddy Kong Racing, GoldenEye are up there with Super Mario, The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, and even Conker's Bad Fur Day is a hugely sought after Nintendo 64 game, especially from a collector's point of view. It's one of the higher end, most expensive video games.
It's because it was so late in its life cycle as well. It's like crossed between the N64 and GameCube, so it was kind of a bit buried.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, true, but it is another Rare video game, and it's crazy to think that they passed on that. It's such a shame. Now, look, I still think Rare produced fantastic video games. But it's surprising that Nintendo didn't go that way.
Nintendo have a history
really
though of being very, very weird with partnerships in terms of their what they want out of someone, what they demand out of someone. And I feel I don't know, is it like kind of not a cultural thing but a Nintendo cultural thing, right? Not that, not in a Japanese sense, but within a Nintendo sense, that the culture of the company is, it seems to be very like when you're listening to the Console Wars, right? And you're you know, that audiobook that we've both been listening to, and you kind of hear about how like if someone tried to make a Super Nintendo with it, like there was no democracy in how they tackled the market early on. Yeah. And a lot of pairings upwards, they hold people to complete like anonymity, and there's a lot of different interesting Nintendo facts. Obviously they're successful because of it, but you know, things that make you successful can also be part of your weaknesses too. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And I definitely think there was opportunities that we could be living in a world where we would have lots of Banjo and Conquer games. And I really feel incredibly strongly that I can't understand why we can't have collectathons anymore. I do not understand why it's a dead genre. I think there is definitely enough love, at least from an older generation, that would like look how we eat up the Zelda remakes. Look how we eat up Link Between Worlds. Like, they sell so goddamn well. Skyward Sword, twice the price on a Switch. I guarantee you there's a market for these things, you know? But I just don't understand. And it could be very much so that Rare don't want to make it, you know? You never know. It could be that too. So it's all speculation. But it's such a mystery, isn't it? It's such a mystery.
It is. It is, because it's such a fun style of game to play is a collectathon. You really can't go wrong, in my opinion, and I really thoroughly enjoy them. And especially this, I think this is possibly the best. Like, dare I say it, I feel like I enjoy this more than I enjoy Super Mario 64.
I have
playing through it. There's just so much, and there's a lot of variety in Super Mario 64. But there's so much in this that I really, really love. I love the Jinjos. I love collecting the Jinjos. Such a clever thing for collecting. Such a kind of, it's like their spin on the 8 red coins for Mario. Then obviously having your notes as opposed to coins. And I'm not trying to just have it as a Mario comparison.
No, I get you.
Look at the two of them on the N64. They're kind of close. And then there's the mix of Banjo and Kazooie. That hilarious mix. The mix up of moves. So Banjo has his moves, but then Kazooie has their specials. How they shoot out eggs, how they fart out eggs, how they can do the different power like slams in the ground, and then how you can Mumbo Jumbo can totally transform you into something totally new as well, that you can only reach certain areas of a level.
That's incredible.
Like there's so much, it's so creative, and then how all the different levels are so different and feel like a whole new game. And what I really, really, really love is I feel like it brings a lot of the holidays in. There's Halloween levels.
Yes, I'm a huge fan of that. It's like my absolute favourite.
Like the fact that there's Halloween and Christmas in this game, and then there's eggs, you could say, is Easter eggs. Like, two huge holidays, having them together is just, it's so much fun, and it's such a contrast. Bright, colourful, happy, then dark, eerie, scary, and I can't speak high enough about the design of this game, the different levels in the game, and how much fun. That's what I just bring it back to. It is a fun game to play, nice and easy. It can get a bit difficult at times, and a bit, you fall off a ledge and you're like, oh shit, but that's part of the fun, in my opinion, is mastering the game, learning the layout of a level. So if you have to do like a time thing, so when Kazooie has to put on like the welly boots to run through like the toxic slime or whatever, and it's timed, and you can hear the tick tick tick, the clock running down, and you're like, shit. Just everything. It's one of my favorites. It really is.
I think the really interesting thing between Mario 64 though and Banjo-Kazooie, right? Because you're kind of saying, you're thinking in your head there, it's like, I think Banjo-Kazooie actually is probably my preferred game. I think the very interesting thing about it is, obviously, I don't think Banjo-Kazooie might not probably exist the way it had without Mario 64, because Mario 64 came out in 1996 and Banjo-Kazooie came out in 1998. So, and obviously, turnaround for games at this time was a lot shorter. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're talking, there could be a year development period. But what I will say is, I think Banjo-Kazooie has better characters. I think it has better like ambience. I think it has better writing. Like obviously there's no writing in Mario 64 really. I think it has everything probably better except for one thing, which is movement. So like I think that's the thing that Mario 64 still holds very strong, and why it's sped run is because the actual input of controlling Mario. I think there's a lot more clever stuff in Banjo, and I think his movement does not need to be as good as Mario's because it's a different level design. It works for it, but the speed and the tight control you have in Mario 64 makes it a very interesting parkour game. You know, like how quickly can I get these stairs? Where Banjo is very much so a sit back, relax, get immersed into the world and experience these beautiful characters, experience the funny story. And like obviously Mario has the snow levels and the kind of Halloween levels too, but this really leans into the themes of it, you know?
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I've always noticed that there is a snow level and there's the Boo's house or whatever in Super Mario 64, but I've never put them together as Halloween levels, where Banjo-Kazooie literally has full-blown Christmas tree with Christmas decorations and has pumpkins as far
it's
as
Christmas.
I know,
it's not just festive. It's not just a snow level. It's literally Christmas.
Yeah. And then it's strange that you mentioned movement and controls, because I actually was thinking to myself, the controls in this are really smooth. When I was playing this last night, and I was playing it on the N64, I wasn't playing it on the Switch or anything. I was playing it on original hardware, and I was like, fucking hell, it's really, like, even the way he climbs up poles, and when how you switch to Kazooie, running with Kazooie, is just, I don't know, it's really smooth, man. But I do get you about how Mario was a lot tighter, definitely. But it's funny you said it, because it was actually in my head that I was playing it last night and I was like, fucking hell, I don't remember it being such a smooth transition from going from Banjo to Kazooie, or how he's moving and jumping and even floating around. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the controls are really, really good, but I definitely agree Mario is doit like a tiger.
Yeah. It's like, as I said, it doesn't need, like, they still, even though they're very similar, they feel very different. Like, do you know what I mean? Because I think Banjo's far more of a collectathon and Mario's far more of a parkour to the thing you're going to. You know what I mean? I think like Mario. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one, like, because obviously they naturally draw comparison, because, you know, there's two big collectathons that we don't really see so much anymore. But I would say Banjo is a more authentic collectathon. Like, you know, collecting the Jinjos, collecting the music notes, collecting the jiggies, collecting the honeycombs, collecting the skulls. Like, there's so many different things to collect to get 100%, where Mario is just kind of progress through and you'll get the stars, you know what I mean? Yeah. Which is an interesting one of it. An interesting fact as well is that there is a promotional poster for Banjo-Tooie. There's a holiday wallpaper on it, and Jinjo can be seen holding a GameCube, which obviously they had aspirations for. Yeah, so they obviously had aspirations for it.
I'll have to find. Well, do you have a copy of a picture of it?
I do.
Or if you can find it, will you send it to me?
Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. And sorry, just to go back to Rare and the different games, like, I really love the connection between Banjo-Kazooie, Conker's Bad Fur Day, and Diddy Kong Racing. I feel like it's so clever. So they started off in Diddy Kong Racing, then obviously Conker, Banjo, but also Tip Top, who was the turtle in Diddy Kong Racing.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Is also in, and I only copped this when I was watching you stream this, in, I think it's Bubble Gloop Swamp, the level in Banjo-Kazooie, when you go into the crocodile, or the turtle, or sorry, the crocodile, and there's all of the Tip Top wire.
I think it is a big turtle, and then there's another crocodile you go into that has a different thing, but yeah.
Oh, right, yeah. And then, so they have Tip Top Squire, and it's Tip Top from Diddy Kong Racing. So there's that connection between the three of them that I think is just really clever, how all those games can kind of tie into each other a little bit, yeah. Sure. And I just I love that little, just that extra, it almost brings the whole world together, like it's one world. And I really love that connection, especially because Diddy Kong Racing is one of my other favourite video games
fantastic
of all time.
Yeah, as a racer really goes, I would argue I definitely think it's better than Mario 64 or Mario Kart 64. Sorry, and it deserves. Oh my god, I think it had 3DS re-release, but it deserves, like, if we could have that on the Switch online, I would. The amount of community days with friends I would have, it just would be so much fun. Are you aware of a game called Dream Land of Giants? It was a Super Nintendo game that Rare was making.
Dreamland of Giants. No, I don't think so.
It was like an RPG. They were working on it for a while. But the really interesting thing about that is there's a lot of assets from that game. And I think the game got axed in some capacity. They all got reused for Banjo-Kazooie. So there's a lot of like wildlife stuff in the background that they were using. Which is kind of interesting as well.
That's really, really cool. Another thing, and it only hit me when you were singing before we started recording the podcast, is the music in this game is so clever. And actually, sorry, before I forget, that when you're in the kind of hub world, I love the way you can just hear Gruntilda every so often going laughing in the background. It's so sinister, it's so like spooky, and it just really, really adds to the atmosphere of this person kind of looming over you that's holding your sister prisoner, you know?
Yeah.
But the music in this game,
if you go to the woods today, there'll certainly be a surprise.
I didn't realise that was that song. Like, it just hit me when you were singing it, that it's the same song. It's very, very clever, and I can't believe it took until now for that to hit me. It's crazy, man.
Can I read you something pretty fucking cool?
Yeah, go for it.
So there was an extended ending to Banjo-Kazooie that never happened. Right.
What?
Yeah, so there's an extended ending, right? So do you want to hear what it's about? Well, we let the listeners know.
Yeah. Do. Please do.
After defeating the witch Gruntilda at the end of Banjo-Kazooie, she falls off a tower. Before she dies, she casts a final spell that misses Banjo, hitting the ground instead. With the day saved, our heroes take a well-deserved break before the sequel. However, the original plan for the ending didn't wrap up so nicely. At least not right away. In the extended ending, and get this, right? Gruntilda's final spell hits Banjo, turning him into a frog. Of course, even with the boss defeated, that's no way to end a game, right? So with Banjo incapacitated, it would end up to be Tooty to save the day. Players would then guide Tooty through all the levels again to collect all the items in reverse for Gruntilda's frog spell. But the extended ending never came to be. So it'll be like a new game plus with Tooty.
Oh man, that sounds so cool, doesn't it? Imagine if that happened.
I know.
It would have been huge, but so good.
Some
That's
cool
really
replay
clever.
value. I think it's also interesting as well as like, you know, when you look at Diddy Kong Racing, and it's like Diddy Kong Racing, I think, was that Rare's first N64 game? I can't, or was it GoldenEye before 90s, it maybe?
Not sure. 96, 97ish, wasn't it?
Basically what happened was like Banjo-Kazooie made it in there because Banjo-Kazooie didn't get the holiday deadline for a Nintendo 64 game, so they put him in Diddy Kong Racing instead. And it's kind of like the same with Conker and like Tip Top. This is why you have all these characters that like aren't even themselves in the games. Do you know what I mean? They're like different versions of them, which is very cool.
That's so clever. It's really, really cool. And what about one of the biggest legends of Banjo-Kazooie is that damn key behind that damned ice wall that you just can't not damn well get. You can't fucking get it, man. So for people listening, I wonder, do they know that there was a key in Banjo-Kazooie that was behind a wall of ice, a big, golden, glorious, beautiful key, and you could not get it. I tried. Lord knows I tried. And I can even remember kids in school saying that they got it, them fucking lying bastards.
I know. And the fact there was the features as well of changing the Nintendo 64 carts really quickly between Banjo-Kazooie and Banjo-Tooie.
So that's... that's what it was, wasn't it?
Yeah, but it didn't end up working. So like it kind of just exists there. But very glad to say, if you have Game Pass, they have Banjo-Kazooie and they have Banjo-Tooie on there, and they work in the way it was intended first day.
No way.
Yeah, and it has extra Easter eggs too, and it has stuff you can unlock that aren't in the original games. Really, really fantastic ports. And you know, if you're someone who has an Xbox Series S or X, you can just quick resume them anytime. So you know, if you want to play for 5 minutes, brilliant, pop it away and go back in, which is cool.
Good. So good. What's your... So, out of the levels in Banjo-Kazooie, so I'm just going to name them off here, right, just to get them into your head. So you start off at Spiral Mountain, and Gruntilda's lair is like the hub world, Yep. Then there's Mumbo's Mountain, Treasure Trove Cove, Clanker's Cavern, Bubble Gloop Swamp, Freeze Easy Peak, Gobi's Valley, Mad Monster Mansion, Rusty Bucket Bay, and Click Clock Woods. Now, out of them, do you have a favourite two, favourite three?
Which
ones jump out at you?
I actually like a lot of them. I I kind of fucking hate Clanker's Cavern. Like, I think it's cool, but like, there's a lot of swimming and there's a lot of underwater annoyances with it. Mumbo's Mountain is just like a 10 out of 10 first level because you can see everything you need to collect. So I love it as an introductory level, and you get the vibe of the game.
100%.
I like Treasure Trove Cove too. I like the pirate. I like that you get introduced to flying in that level. So the flying mechanic of this game is actually quite fun. You have to collect red feathers, and then you go onto a certain pad. And you can fly anywhere in the level, which is really, really cool. I mean, I gotta say, Mad Monsters Mansion has so many cool little areas, and I'm a big Halloween boy. Click Clock Wood is ingenious in the way it has the 4 different seasons, and you have to go back and forth and work amongst them, and feed the eagle and grow the plants and go down to the beaver's dam when it's no water there and it's dried up.
So good.
What about you? I know I named a lot of them there. I would probably say Clanker's Cavern and Bubble Goop Swamp would not be my favorites. I feel like every other one I'm pretty fine with.
Yeah, like I totally agree with you. I feel like Mumbo's Mountain is a great introductory level, and what I actually really love, and something I was only thinking about last night, is the opening. What would you call it? The start screen for Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, it's amazing.
Incredible, because it's the gameplay. But it's the gameplay, right? And what it makes me think of, right? What the start screen of this makes me think of is walking into a shop in 1998 when this game comes out, and up on the screen you see in the big beautiful font and blue and red Banjo-Kazooie, but you can see the level playing in the background. And
the kiosks.
The way it goes, yes, on a kiosk, and then you jump on and you play. I'm actually getting goosebumps.
Salivating.
Oh my god! Like, just imagine how impactful that was. Like, seeing it and going, oh my god, that looks incredible.
Yeah.
And jumping on. And how it does that swipe of boo, like when and
in the jiggy shape,
the next levels. Yeah, it's so good. So I love Mumbo's Mountain, but that was in my head yesterday.
Yeah.
I love Freezeezy Peak because I'm a Christmas man. I love.
However, those
Christmas
fucking snowmans that you have to fucking glide into their heads when you're flying is a cunt.
Yeah, they are pricks. But such a great level. I love the little houses. I love the tree itself with the decoration. So cool. I do really enjoy Gobi's Valley. I think it's a really fun level. One of the more difficult ones, but
there's so many secrets in all of them.
There's
so many secrets, and you're like, oh my god, you could be playing it for like all your life and find a whole new area. There's levels within levels, which I love. You like go into something and it's
there is and then you get brought into a new room and you're like, what the hell? But my absolute favorite has to be Click Clock Wood. Man, I can remember playing this when I was a kid and thinking that it was the most impossible level ever. I thought, there's no way I'm ever going to finish this. There's no way I'm ever going to complete this level. And I was playing it again last night, and I was going through the level, and just like you said, the different seasons, is that the right word? And how the level changes, and climbing up the tree. Just everything about this level, it blew me away. Like, this was a really impactful level for me because it's the final level. It was so difficult. I enjoyed it so much. There was so much mystery, so much magic. Again, when I played this game, I was 11 years old.
Sure. 12
years old. It was peak magic mystery video games, 90s. For me, and I can't. That level in itself is just,
it's gorgeous.
Chef kiss beautiful. Yeah, I just love it so much. I love it so much.
I have
the whole game, man. For me, I'm gonna say it's 10 out of 10.
Oh, it's unbelievable, and I only played it recently, and I thought it was 10 out of 10.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that.
Some other little interesting facts that I think are kind of fun. In Conker's Bad Fur Day, there's a furnace, and above it is a stuffed head of Banjo. So canonically, Banjo's dead.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's pretty cool. I quite like that. That's really, really cool.
There was also a Ukulele, which was like a spiritual sequel to Banjo-Kazooie that came out, that was made by, I think was made by some of the team, and it was kind of crowdfunded. Which I must
play it?
I haven't played it, but I think it's on Game Pass as well, and I'd like to give it a go.
Cool.
Which would be kind of interesting.
I heard good things about it. things.
One or two little fun facts for you here as well. Mumbo Jumbo's voice comes from a football chant.
What? Does it?
Yeah, you know, when they're just taking audios, which is kind of interesting with this, that it was captured through a football chant as part of some of it, you know what I mean? And obviously the change.
Yeah.
The interesting thing with N64 carts is that they had, they didn't have very much space at all for music. So like, you'll notice there's a lot of reused music in Mario 64, you know, like the slide music is also like the special stage music. The snow levels both have the same music, they don't change them. So yeah, there wasn't a lot of that. So I think they would always repurpose audio files by stretching them out or making them smaller, or, you know, remixing them essentially. So you'll find in a lot of Nintendo 64 games that they do clever things with audio, like slow it down, lower it, make it faster to get different sounds. Like the classic one is the Twomp sound, and the Boo sound is a sped up Bowser sound from Mario 64 and stuff.
You said that, yeah, very cool, yeah. And then I love, do you know what I think is is really funny is at the start, so your start selection, your file selection is the three different options that you have. Barrio.
Oh my god, we need a new fusion, a Patara or fusion dance of Mario and Banjo called Barrio. Someone, Tichu, if you're listening to this, will you do? Tichu has actually done fusion work before. Can you make Banjo X Mario happen for us? Thank you.
Yeah, please do. But you have Banjo in the bed, I think it is the first one. Then cooking a meal is the second one. But then the really, really cool one that I loved, he's sitting there playing a Game Boy. Yeah, like how cool is that? Like, it's really, really cool. But everything in this game I love. Like I cannot fault the game. I'm trying to think, is there something, and I genuinely can't. I love it so much, and there's so much more to talk about. The flying as well, I really loved the flying aspect of this game. It really adds that, and I keep saying magical, but that's just how it's in my head. That's the best word to describe it. That's what it brings you to. So how you get up, you can fly up so high, and it brings you to other areas of the level, and I just love it so much.
The last the last quiz though and the last boss are fairly fucking hard. Like
I remember you saying that, yeah.
The quiz part, like there's certain things where you go on, like if you fail, you're back to the beginning straight away. They're like instant deaths. Yeah. And then the last boss, there's like a part where you're just being railed from all sides, and it's like when you get hit, there's this like rolling animation. You're like, fuck. But I do think it's absolutely fantastic. I do think it's like fucking, it really is a 10 out of 10 game. Like it does keep it bottles the magic, you know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you're playing it 20 years ago, it doesn't matter if you're playing today for the first time or you're revisiting it. It has the charm, it has the ambience, it has the magic, it has what you love about retro video games, you know?
Yeah. I think if we ever did a Let's Play series on YouTube, I feel like this would be a really good one to do.
Yeah, of course. I'd love to.
You know, like fun, like again, so much variety for people via the different levels and stuff like that. I think like that would be a really fun thing to do if it was something we ever got around to doing.
120 5-star reviews. We're at 109 at the moment. We'll do a Banjo Let's Play. All right.
And we also have to do.
Yeah, we have another deal.
We have to do.
We have to suck each other off or something. OnlyFans.
What?
You know, a girl's got to eat, Nisha. So you know, whatever we got to work it.
But we said when we get to 120 star reviews as well, or 125 star reviews, we're also going to do our part 2 of our Super Mario 64 podcast playthrough, which I think is funny how they have interlinked with each other now.
Our unconscious brains, you know,
and Super Mario. So if you're listening on Spotify, on Apple, drop us an 5-star review, because we love you very much.
Do it, man. Slap it on in.
Do you know what we'll do, Keith? Because we're obviously we asked our beautiful listeners for some memories, questions, queries, and we're going to read them out. But I think because we're asking, we mentioned about rating the podcast 5 stars. Please do it. Why don't we roll the ad and then get into our player input?
Roll the tape, Ireland.
Why did you call? Hold on, stop, Aaron, don't do it. You called him Ireland the last time.
Ireland. Roll the tape, Ireland.
Do it. Go on, Aaron.
Ireland. I like changing things up. You know what I mean? Because it's like I don't know. There's just like Ireland is like how I would joke with someone. You know what I mean? I'd be like, I change your name. Like I call you Nietzsche sometimes by accident. I don't even know how it comes out. It's just got to roll the tape. Bye. Yeah. I mean, hi.
Thank you so much for listening to Press Any Button to Continue. If you would like to see more, you can find us on Instagram and X at Press Any Podcast.
Of course, if you want to catch up with our Discord, the link is in the show notes. This is primarily where we will ask you questions for future episodes and interact with our community. We do as well have a YouTube at Press Any Button to Continue, where we're currently doing a Dragon Ball Z reactionary content. Of course, as well, we do have a Patreon where you can support us directly at patreon.com/Press Any Button to Continue, where we have exclusive content and even some special stickers to send you if you sign up.
And if you like what you hear, please remember to rate, review and share the podcast, as it really helps us grow.
Now, no more diddle-daddling, back to the show. Okay, and welcome back to Press Any Button to Continue. We will now be diving into our listener questions. If you too would like to get involved in any of our episodes, we do have a Discord that we leave in the notes and you'll hear in our little ads as well. The first one comes in from Mr. Dave. Oh boy. Me and my mate were N64 obsessed. I got this game and was going on holiday the next day. Managed to get to World 4 before I went on holiday. Was delighted with myself. When I came back from the halls, he'd completed it and had 2 weeks of catching up to do. Absolutely raging. Eventually 100%ed the game. Further down the line, I got an action replay and hacked the game to get the eggs and the ice key. Remember that? What? My game was now buggered and I changed some stuff by hacking it. Who knows? When I wiped the game at a later date, I still had the ice key and the eggs. Whoa,
what?
we need to get
some
action replay. Do you remember the ads for action replay, man? They were so fucking cringe.
Yeah.
So I hadn't reset. Kept quiet about that when I sold my N64 in games. Big regret. Oh, dude, if you still had that N64 cart with the ice key, man. Never came back it until I got Rare Replay years later on the Xbox One and never played the sequel. Which is an interesting one. I do have thoughts about the sequels, but I just want to keep my thoughts to myself for now,
Well, thanks, Mr. Dave. That was a cool story. I can remember that frustration of trying to catch up to your friends in school with games.
You couldn't leave them get ahead of you. You could not leave them get ahead of you.
You motherfuckers, yeah. Very, very cool. But he did the impossible and got the key. He got through that ice wall and got the key.
Action replay was crazy, man. You put it in and then you took it out and you put the game back in and it was like, have whatever you want.
That's what was the whole thing of getting that key though, wasn't it? And it just didn't work. That's very, very cool. And great as well to get back into it with the Rare Replay in the Xbox. I have Banjo-Tooie and I've played it, but it didn't grab me like the first one. But it's definitely one of the list of games that I really want to complete. I
think my problem is it has that, I said I wasn't going to say this, but it has that bigger, bolder, more complicated feel. I very much so like the serotonin of being able to collect everything in one level and move on. This one has a very large hub world. I get lost in it a bit too easy. And I also find having to only get some things in some levels and then going back to the first ones. I think for some people, they're like, oh, that's such a cool feature. And for me, I want to be able to do everything and not and then be able to move on kind of. I love the serotonin of knowing I got everything in that level. Because you could spend 80 hours thinking you can get something in a level, but you actually had to go 4 levels ahead, get an item and come back to it. You could waste half your life thinking you could and be like, I'm not moving from this level, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I specifically, Keith, remember a kid in my class saying he got that fucking key and he was adamant.
Maybe it was fucking Dave.
Maybe.
Imagine if Dave was in your class this whole time.
Could you imagine, Mr. Dave? Did you go to, I won't say it, but did you go to my primary school with me? Thanks, Mr. Dave. The next one comes in from Dinner Dog, and Dinner Dog has said, that I never played Banjo, in brackets, not sure why, but I'm clearly going to have to give it a go. No Banjo story specifically, but I do remember going to a friend's house a few times to play it, but we got distracted with other games. Banjo reminds me of that friend and just having fun, a fun time. That just, to me, confirms what I was saying about Banjo just being fun. Like, that's a nice wholesome memory.
It's the kiosk in the corner. Like, you have the visuals of it, and it just reminds you of magic and good times and youth and wonder.
Yeah, it does. That's a really nice memory to hang on to, and a really nice memory to have. And again, it hammer homes Banjo, and fun and magic is the things, the words that come to my mind. So very, very cool. Thanks, Dinner Dog.
The next story we got is from Delta Sapphire, and I just glanced over the intro here, and I feel like Mary Majora might be a recruiter of people to play banjo, but here we go. So I actually never played Banjo-Kazooie before last year when Mary inspired me to start it. Again, a running theme there with me and Delta, I'd say. But it was such a fun game. My favourite level definitely was Treasure Trove Cove, even if it did take me forever to beat. Classic Delta. If I had to name any bad worlds, though, it'd be 100% Rusty Bucket Bay. I don't mind that. I know Mary dislikes that one too. I'm a fan of it. And Grunty Industries? Grunty Industries.
Wait, Grunty Industries? I don't remember. What's that?
Oh, maybe that's from Banjo-Tooie, possibly?
I don't know.
Not even because they're hard levels, but because I suck so much dinglebutt at the games and needed Mary to guide me ever. It's okay. I scream Mary all the time to help me too. While the level itself was hard, I loved Click Clock Wood. So much because the season changing mechanic, because it felt like a whole different world that could be re-explored, but with massive changes. As for my favourite memory, it was probably when I couldn't find an eye switch for like 30 minutes and was getting screamed at by people that I was blind. Won't name who. Cough, cough. The memories I made playing it with the community, though, feel unforgettable, and they're both honestly some of my favourite games now as a whole because of it. Definitely one of the best gaming experiences I ever had. I would agree with that. I have a very similar story to Delta and how I discovered Banjo in later years, and you know, it just, and then also combining the modern element of streaming with the retro game, and having, you know, because streaming really allows you and offers you that, like going over to your friend's house and watching them play a game with you for the first time. So having loads of your friends watching you play a game for the first time and experiencing the magic, the way, Nisha, if you saw someone playing Zelda Ocarina of Time for the first time and you got to be a fly on the wall, you'd be like, oh my god. You know? Yeah,
true. Were you recruited by Mary to play Banjo-Kazooie?
I absolutely was, I would say. It's been a couple of years, but I would say very, very likely.
Very cool story from Delta, and I love the fact that, again, it's another one where you're playing an old game for the first time and still loving it as much as people with nostalgia goggles on. You know, it still holds up well. Even today, it's still a fantastic game, and I totally agree as well. Click Clock Wood and having the different seasons change and totally made it a really special level. And also, I can remember the frustration of, like you say, not being able to find the eye switch. I love that. I can remember that being like, how the fuck do I do this? Yeah. Because it was pre-internet. You might have had a magazine that might have given you a few hints and tips, but it was easy to get stuck on some things. But it was the fun of it all, trying to figure it out, was really, really cool. So I love Delta's story there. That's a really good one. The next one is from Mary Majora, the Banjo-Kazooie, what would you say?
Connoisseur, the Banjo-Kazooie connoisseur. The banjo to the kazoo, the licky to the bum bum, the creams to the dreams. Mary Mahora, has maybe damn, you know what I mean? Like really likes to like blowing that moist goodness into the carts, like, you know, suckingly slapping it between the flaps. Like it's a whole 2-for-1 for like many. Damn.
Mary, I just said your name. Yeah,
it's
that was all him. Mary. Well, and
Nisha's thinking of you sliding the carts between the flaps. That's what's happening right now.
Jesus Christ. Right, Mary Majora wrote in and said, so technically this is about Banjo-Tooie, the second game, but I received my copy at a garage sale that came.
Hang on now, you're not American, Nisha. Do that again.
But that's what it's called. You don't call it a garage sale.
You do call it a garage sale. You're Irish. You're Irish. You will. But
I've never heard anyone
again,
refer
Nisha. I won't allow it. I won't allow it in this podcast now. Here, hi.
So technically this is right. Okay, I'll start again, Mary. I'm sorry. So
technically this.
So technically this is about Banjo-Tooie, in brackets the second game. But I received my copy at a garage sale.
There you go.
That came with my N64 as they were selling it all to get an Xbox 360. I'd never heard of the game before, and so therefore did not realise Banjo-Tooie was the second game, which in retrospect feels so obvious, but alas, dumb child brain. I remember when I first started the game, I could not get past the Spiral Mountain area because the game gave me motion sickness. But it was this game that sparked my love of collectathon style games. Collecting every single note, jiggy, honeycomb, etc. scratched a very specific itch I otherwise didn't realise.
Yeah, that's a yeast infection. That's that itch, Mary. You want to be careful of it.
Both Banjo-Kazooie and Tooie are some of my favourite games ever, but Tooie specifically is my favourite. I know so many feel the second game is not as good as the first, but as someone who has played them backwards, Banjo-Tooie will always be my favourite of the two. We don't talk about nuts and bolts, that game does not exist. That was in brackets, by the way. The way the worlds are connected and that you solve a puzzle in one world to help yourself in another, the vastness, all of the new moves you learn, the silly characters, the world themes, the way everything has changed since the first game, and music all combined make the game so incredibly charming and silly. I feel like it's impossible to play Banjo games without smiling. Banjo changed my life and is such a huge part of me now, to the point where I plan to get a jiggy tattoo this year. Very, very cool. Oh, also we need to talk about how hot Sexy Gruntilda is, but I'm almost certain you horny boys will bring it up.
So horny.
Yeah, that's very funny that was the last thing she said, and it was literally, when we started this episode, literally one of the first things we said.
Well, I convinced Mary to do a Sexy Gruntilda cosplay, so there is she did on stream.
Oh, yeah.
And she slapped on it. Also, let me just say, Nisha reading out Mary's words about Banjo, which she loves, and Nisha, who she loves. That's probably, I'd say her legs are fucking quaking at the moment. You know what I mean? I'd say she's fucking slipped on the floor.
Jesus Christ. You go hard with Mary, man.
Oh, I do go hard.
No, come on. Fuck's sake.
Dude,
Mary, I didn't mean
this is literally, we talk like this for hours on stream. Like hours on stream today. You would only want to know the conversations we were having today on stream. Also, just underneath that point. I think we need Mary as a full third time position for President 1 to continue, by the way.
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
I feel like we need the horny feminine touch. Also, just underneath this, just to give you an idea, if you want to join our Discord and read these stories over, please do, because they're the best way we can keep in contact with you. Because underneath this story, Delta has put in a Sexy Gruntilda gif. Has put in, beauty, I'm much prettier than Tootie. Like, coming in with the legs, slaying the hen.
Look what it says underneath.
Mary, any money you make from being Sexy Gruntilda goes directly into my bank account, okay? Thank you.
Look at what Delta wrote underneath the GIF. Just scroll down a little bit.
The titties don't lie. The titties. And then Mary said, oh, Humba Wumba and Tooie. Humba Wumba gives me a fucking Humba Wumba double. Like, oh my God. It's like Hooba Hooba Humba Humba. Like, makes me fucking feral, Nisha.
Jesus Christ. I remember when Mary was on the podcast and she was talking about how she played Tooie first and didn't realise there was a first one, and I think it's really cool to kind of have that, because you were saying how it's such a huge game, and I think it's cool that going from that, which was so much bigger, and then when they eventually played Kazooie, to still love the first one again stands to the first game, because it's obviously much more compact than the second one. Now again, I don't know much about the second one. I have played it. I haven't played it through to the end, so I can't say too much. But I think it's just that again stands to the original, that even after playing the second one first, Mary still really enjoys the first one. And again, I think it's cool to say that it's impossible to play Banjo games without smiling. I think that's a really nice thing as well, because again, it just comes back to me of being such a fun game, and I really, really enjoyed. So that was a great story. Thanks very much.
Yeah, and I think it goes to the importance as well of explaining how important video games are to people, and for people who are outside the video game worlds, they're just as, and can be more important than any movie, any book, any painting that exists because you relate to it, and there's no real other art form that involves you within the art. So you really got to remember that you're progressing an adventure. You know, you're not on a roller coaster ride being along for it, and you know, to an extent you are with your senses, but you're pushing the narrative forward always. So that really sticks in your kid brain a lot more, I think. Next story coming from Gar. Guys, Gar has like 50 billion minutes listening time on Press Any Button to Continue.
Yes.
I would also like to give out a shout to Probsty, who is currently still going through all the episode and is nearly caught up. Within the space of a couple of weeks has listened to all 30 episodes.
No way.
So thank you for that, Probsty. Was in stream today chatting about
Probsty.
it. But Gar does have, I think, the most amounts of minutes listening to our stream right now. So guys, you got some rookie numbers, guys. We're going to need everyone to listen to every episode 60 more times, please. Thank you so much. We're going to need to get up the charts, guys. If you want to see this podcast lasting into the future, we're going to need to have everyone on Gar's numbers. Thank you so much. I'm going to need you to quit your job. I'm going to need you to listen and let us know the point where we dropped off. All right. So do you remember when pressing a button to continue or good? You can hashtag in the comments, guys. Also,
hold on. Do you think people ever say that?
Nisha, I said it as a joke, but let's be honest, man. The truth about things is we're always the same, baby. It's you who fell off. It's the listeners who fell off, all right? Burn, you like that? Also, seriously,
is that gaslighting? Sorry, is that gaslighting?
I don't know. I think it's gaslighting and maybe reverse psychology. It's one or the other. Either way, it's very manipulative and should be taken off the air. Here's the dealio, though. I got to read Gareth's story, and also, I meant to say to everyone who's listening, and we're doing this new style that we want you ideally to treat, if you want to get involved in the conversation on Spotify, that treat the comments like a YouTube section. So if there's anything you want to correct us on, if there's anything you want to add, anything along those natures, feel free to add whatever thoughts you have in the comment section in the Spotify, because that type of engagement really helps out as well if you have a thought and you want to share it. So Gareth said, so in my youth I never owned a Nintendo 64 and thus never owned Banjo. Flicking the banjo string, baby. But I do remember going to school. I do remember going to a school friend's house. It was much different to my home. In my friends, we weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons. Oh my God, that's very interesting. I remember that being the case with one of my friends growing up too. Yeah. And also discovering how different the first time you go for a sleepover, you're like, oh shit, people live differently to me. I take my shoes off. And they didn't watch The Simpsons, and a chocolate treat had to be chosen from the tin with your eyes closed. They were also a bit more sophisticated as they had the luxury of a playroom.
Ooh.
I mean, sophisticated could be another word for it, but the N64 took pride of place in this room, and the two games I remember very well that we played were Banjo and Star Wars Rogue Squadron. I recently dabbled with Banjo, though, after watching Keith stream it. It'll be a long burner for me, but so far I'm loving it. Spoilers, welcome in the episode.
Good man, Gar. That's cool that Gar got back into it after watching you stream. I actually got back into it after watching you stream as well. Well, that's what made me get back into playing it.
That's the power of kick.com/Steamy_streamer. See you there. Yeah. Shameless plug. Also, I love the way Gar said, spoilers welcome in the episode. Gar, I don't know if you've listened to the podcast before, but we tend to read these at the end. So if you said spoilers not welcome, unfortunately, you're a little bit too late for that one.
That's a cool memory to have, though, as well. You know, going to your friend's house. I think it's interesting about The Simpsons, because you said that as well. They weren't allowed to watch The Simpsons. But just having that, you know, that memory of going to their playroom, playing through Banjo and Star Wars is just really, really nice. I actually remember going to play PlayStation 1 in a friend's house, and they had Tomb Raider 1, and they too had a playroom, and it was the first time I was ever in a friend's house who had a playroom, had an extra room. I was like, oh my God, these people are rich here. Yeah. And I was just, it blew my mind that they had this whole room to themselves. It was very, very cool. I remember playing Tomb Raider 1 for the very first time.
It's funny, the differences. I think the memories are always really funny, is that when like you know your friend is fighting with their mom and you're just hiding in a corner like la da 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 da. It's like, fuck you, mom, I'm not coming down for dinner, you useless bitch. And you're like, oh my fucking God. Yeah. And then they're like, I bet Keith wouldn't treat his mother like this. And you're like, woo, look at the time there. I think I'm going to vomit and get sick. I think my mum has to collect me. You're like, oh shit, dude.
Oh, very good.
I mean, it's only fair that I think Nisha has a very special recent connection with Mark. And I think it's only fair that the last comment is to be read out by Nisha.
Oh yeah,
Mark
that was... We didn't even plan this as well of who went first at reading the comments.
I planned it
really well. Oh, did you? Ah, you sneaky motherfucker. So thanks, Gar, for your story. And the final story that was sent into the podcast via Mark the Mail was, I didn't grow up with Banjo or an N64 in general.
I just wish the comment said, I didn't grow up. Just ends there. I didn't grow up.
He said, I didn't grow up with Banjo or an N64 in general, but I just want to hear Nisha give me a good nickname again, please. Right, hold on.
Now,
I'm
Mark,
going to use a bit of mumbo jumbo's
No,
magic.
don't do it for free, Nisha. Do nothing good for free. That's horny tax right there is what I call that, right? He gets off and you calling him a nickname. And he's jerking his little chain. This is horny tax. Mark, we're going to need something very particular from you. 25-star reviews. Send it to all your friends. But Nisha, you may give it in credit.
So, I'm trying to think now. Hold on, I have to give him a good one. You know what I mean? Mark has previously been the masculine, muscular, musky, succulent cunt. He's a man. Mark is a man of many talents.
I would like it noted as well that when anytime Nisha is like, Jesus, that went very far, Keith. I would just like to put that last comment just on a notation, right there. Succulent cunt.
Yeah, see, I say that word so much that it doesn't land with me, the word cunt. Like,
it doesn't. No one in
visceral reaction.
Yeah, but only from older generations. I feel that word has been changed and used for the most part. Yeah, I don't think there's many younger folk who feel that word is egregious.
Okay. Well, Mark the Mill, you mumbo jumbo, Mark the Mill. Fuck, I'm after losing.
Oh no, he didn't!
I was off to a good start there. Hold on, Mark, stay with me. Listeners, please don't go anywhere. Mark the Mill, you mumbo jumbo, Banjo-Kazooian, mole digging, big green tittian. I can just see a gif of that Delta posted of a cat and someone pulling their balls. So you Delta ball pulling, and I'm going to put the cherry on the cake that you'll always be to me, Mark. A succulent cunt.
Holy fuck, I love it. Alright.
Was that good, or was that? I don't feel like that landed very well.
Do you know what, Nisha? I love that it didn't land well, because you know what? If there's anything I want this podcast to be, it's going to be very cringe, and I enjoy a bit of cringe from time to time. You know what I mean?
I want it to be a challenge to finish it off.
Yeah, but what is Mark? But I think you just gotta go with the take you have, and then maybe next week you'll have a better take. You can pick one every week.
All right, Mark, I love you.
Love you, Mark. Guys, thank you so much for your stories. Thank you so much for listening to our Banjo-Kazooie exploration, a little retrospective, going through the levels, going through the characters, going through the facts, going through the nostalgic memories, the power of retro. And I think I would like to end it with maybe another Gruntilda rhyme, because you know what? Rhymes are fun. Let's do it, baby. How bright they are, your stupid shorts, a target for my dumb cohorts. I got this skirt, so when I'm thinner, it really makes me look a winner. When Tootie is a big old frum, I've got just the skirt to hide her rum. But I'm nice and slim once more, burgers, fries, and chips galore. Tootie says she's fine with me. If you go home now, I'll set her free. Grunty's plan is rather cunning. When I'm thin, guys will come running.